Okay, so interval notation. We're actually going to start at the bottom and then go up to the top. So let's zoom in on here. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry. So we're used to seeing inequality notation. And inequality notation would look something like, so we've got -5, that's a highlighter, so let's undo that. Okay, here we go. So we've got -5, and we've got 2, and then the variable here is going left and right, so that's our x-axis, and we do this and this, because x is between -5 and 2. With interval notation, we're basically saying the same thing, except now we're going to use a comma and a parenthesis / bracket depending on what we're doing. So how does this work out? Great question, so excited to tell you. If you notice, our low point, the -5, that's got an open circle, right? So it's just x is greater than. However, our +2 is really, or equal to. So this is like a range. It's between here and here. So if you think about, if you're told to read pages, and let's just say 5 through 12, right? Because you don't have negative pages, but that's a range. We use that dash, but we already use the dash for subtraction and for negatives. So in math, we use a comma. So the comma is basically saying it's from -5 to 2, okay? So instead of a dash to show that it's a range, we're using a comma instead. Now, if we're doing that, how would we know whether it's included or not? So we've got some rules. If it would be an open circle, you are going to have parentheses. If it would be a closed circle, you would have a bracket, okay? So that means the 2 is included. The -5, it's not. It's up to -5, but not including. So if we look here, we have, so open circle is the parentheses. Let me switch to here. So open circle, we have parentheses. And then closed circle, we have brackets. But there's one other thing here that we don't really have on this little chart. So I'm going to move, let's just stay here. Let's say we had a simple inequality. So we had, and again, I'm not using the right thing. There we go. So let's say we had x is, let's say greater than or equal to 3. So that would be on a number line. Okay, so we would have, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And we're going to take this guy, and on 3, we'd do that solid dot, and it would go to the right. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the way we show that in inequality, x greater than or equal to 3. So basically what this is saying is that it starts at 3, it includes 3, but then it's going to go on forever. So the way we think about that is it's going to start at 3, it includes 3, so that's the bracket. But when we want to say it goes on forever, going on forever is positive infinity, right? Because going to the right of a number line is positive. So we put a positive infinity. Infinities always get a parentheses. So let's put that in somewhere. Maybe we'll put it right there. So infinity, so whether it's negative infinity or positive infinity, use parentheses. I just go parens like this. So if it goes to the right, it's going to be positive infinity. Okay, so if we look at this guy here, oh, I do have some examples here, which is great. So we have these barbells, right? We saw these when we were doing inequalities earlier in the year. So the first one, -1, is less than x, which is less than 3. So it's between -1 and 3, but not including either. So open circles, right? And as we move down, if it includes -1 and 3, we have the closed circles, okay? It includes it. So if we have open circles, right, we would have these parentheses. Well, here's our parentheses. If we have closed, we're going to have brackets. So bracket, bracket. All right, and then when you have one or the other, bracket on one side, parentheses on the other. With infinity, so let's look at one of these guys. So x is less than 3, so I'm looking at this one here. X is less than 3, so 3 is going to be a parentheses. Yeah, we're going to do 3, and we can write this right on top of the number line to start to figure out how to do interval. Now, this left side, this is going into the negatives forever, right? We're going to go -6, -7, like dot, dot, dot. So that's our negative infinity side of things. So we're going to go comma and then negative infinity for this tail that's going into negative infinity. And infinity signs always get parentheses. So that's how we get interval notation going left and right. You can also do this up and down, and I'm going to show that to you in a minute. I'll show that to you now. So I'm going to go like this, and let's make ourselves a cute little coordinate plane, okay? And on this coordinate plane, we're going to do, let's do an absolute value equation. Do I want to do absolute value? Yeah, let's do absolute, yeah, okay, we'll do absolute value. So we're going to go like this. Okay. Well, it turned into a parabola, so I guess we're going to do a parabola instead because my V didn't look like a V. So we've got my upwards parabola, and right about here, let me change the width of this. This guy, let's say our vertex, right? And let's go like this. Say that's our vertex. And let's say that's going to be at, I don't know, 3, -1. That looks pretty good. So this is the location of the vertex. So this has nothing to do with our interval stuff. So if we look at our domain, okay, this is going left and right forever. So set notation or set builder, or really we're just gonna, let's stick with inequality. We'll just call it inequality for right now. Inequality notation, okay, would be all real numbers. Okay, well, interval notation, interval, that's not going to fit. So I'm going to move it over here so I have more room. Sorry, everybody. So interval notation. So that is going left and right forever. So I'm going to go like this. I like to label my infinities kind of like the way, I don't know, the grass grows or something, whatever. So we're going up the y-axis, so that would be a positive infinity. And because it's positive, you don't have to put the little plus sign as positive, but if that helps, great. And then if you think of the grass as green, so that'd be a negative infinity down here. Going left, I think of left as lemons, so I'm going to choose yellow, and numbers go left or go negative on that side of the x-axis. And then on the right, I don't know, red is right, so positive infinity. That kind of looks orange. Close enough. Okay, so domain is left and right. So it's going left forever, and then it's going to go right forever. So positive infinity, I don't need any kind of parentheses or anything like that. Sorry, let me delete that and get a better, normal color. So we put our comma, and then infinity signs always get parentheses. Let's look at range. So and we'll do range like this. So for range, does this go up and down forever? No, it doesn't. So how far up does it go? It goes up forever. How far down does this go? So the lowest this goes is -1. And we see that because of the location there. Ooh, that was big, but you get it. From the location of the vertex, the y value of the vertex. So this is going to be everything above -1. So this would be y is greater than or equal to -1. How do I know it's greater than or equal to? This parabola is a solid line. So if it were just equal to, or if it was just greater than, it would be like a dashed parabola, like that. So that would be just y is greater than. Okay, so I know it includes -1, it goes as low as. So how do we write that in interval notation? So glad you asked. So the lowest this goes, we're always going to list lowest to high or least to greatest. So the lowest is going to be that -1. So I'm going to put -1 first. So I'm going to go -1 and then my infinity sign. -1 is included, so it gets a bracket. And then it's going to go up forever. So we're going up to the sky forever. That's a positive infinity. And then infinities always get parentheses. Okay? So that's how we do interval notation. Now, if we move on to here, so I'm going to do one with you. And let's do number 9. Yeah, let's do number 9, because I want to look at what an OR equation looks like. Currently, what we've done here, this is an AND equation. So you guys see this is an AND equation. This is an AND equation, right? So that's an AND type of compound inequality. So let's look at the OR. Okay, first thing I want to do is I'm going to make my number line. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to go like this, whee, make this guy, make this guy. All right, so I have x is greater than 1, x is less than -4. So I've got -4 down here, I've got 1 up here, and we're going to space it out. So I've got a 3, 2, 1. So I've got 4 things in here. So I've got 1, 1, 1, like that. So -3, -2, -1, 0, 1. Perfect. Okay. So x is greater than or equal to 1. I actually need a little bit more room, so I'm going to go go like this because x is greater than 1. So let's just make that a little bit longer and give it a 2. So we're going right. So that's going to be solid circle. And let's see if it'll let me do it. Come on. Nope, it doesn't want to. So I'm going to just fill that dude in. And then that is going to go that way. All right. And then I have x is less than or equal to -4. So let's put in a -5 as well. And we're going to have to make that just a little bit longer. Doop, 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 -5. Okay. So -4. Okay, we've got a solid circle guy there. And it's going to the left because it's less than. Okay. So I can create my interval notation from this. I feel like it's a little bit easier to look at it. If you see this, so we have a gap in between, right? We have this like chasm. And if you notice this chasm, it kind of looks like a U. So we're going to have a U. This means union. It's basically, it stands for or that there's a gap in between. You could also think of this as there's a jump. So we jump from -4 to 1 and skip over all of those. So we want to think or / a jump. All right. So everything less than -4. Less is our lemons, so we're going to go -infinity because this is the -infinity side of things. And that's going to go up to -4, and it does include, so that gets a bracket, that gets a parentheses. And then I go to my right, which is red, but what are you going to do? So that's my positive infinity on that side. So it goes from 1, put a bracket because it's a closed circle, right? Got a closed circle. And that's going to go to infinity and beyond, and that gets a parentheses. So that's how we would show that or equation. And personally, I feel like that kind of lines up a little bit more nicely when we think of if I were to take this and move it here, right? It kind of lines up nicely. I could go here, right? There's my -4, infinity, my jump, -1, infinity. So it's almost easier to do it when you're learning interval, to do that on top of of the number line. Now let's say we had one where, let's do this, and this is going to look a little bit weird, but we're going to do it, so why not? All right, we've got -4 to positive infinity. So let's say that, we're assuming with this worksheet that all of these are x values because our number line is an x. But let's pretend, just for this example, that this was my range, okay? So let's pretend that this is range, okay? So my range, if I'm going to make, right, this is like a number line going up and down. Well, if 0 is here, and let me just zoom in, and I've got -4 here, well, going up to the sky, this would be my infinity. So I'm listing things, while my interval notation is listing low to high, or left, it lists left to right, sorry, least to greatest. Let me fix that. So it always lists things least to greatest. So this is going to be least is low. And then to high, also known as greatest. And I want to color code this the way I like, so I'm going to go like this, style, green. Okay. So my -4, so that's included. So that's going to be a solid dot. There we go. So solid dot. And it's going to go to infinity. So it's going to go towards that blue infinity. Okay. So if we think of that, if we were to take that and to just, I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to make a copy of that, and I'm going to come over to here. And let's say I took this and I rotated it so it looked kind of like this. -4 is on its side, but you get the idea. Okay, so this is going to go x, well, we're using y, but if you were thinking x and y, it might be easier because you're just learning this. So it's your variable, yeah, is greater than -4, yeah? So you would go like variable is greater than or equal to -4. But this time, instead of it being an x, because really we're going up and down, so I'm going to rotate that guy back, going up and down, because we're looking at this as range. Our variable for range is going to be a y. So y is greater than or equal to -4. So this is specifically, I changed 11 into a range. All of the rest of these are going to be using x. And that is your little introduction to interval notation. The